So with this in mind, we can prove, and we have proved, that the Reach It constructor brush with Hydroblade is multiple times faster and safer. So it's not only more efficient, but it's safer because you've got much less action and much bigger range of motion in the actions, right? And much less use of the core, right, in the actions. So it's a much safer tool, and can deliver. So remember, the catch cry is there's money in glass if you can do it fast. And that's what we want to do, is make sure. Now the problem, why is Reach It, the constructor brush, not available in the retail stores, is because you need to hear all of this and probably see it with your own eyes. And that takes time. And the resellers directly told me that they don't want to spend that time. They're an e-commerce store with a logistics operation, and they want a click, want to click on a button and the sale goes through, they make their $50, and then that's it. They don't want the phone call. And I think that's their business model, and I completely accept that, but I take the responsibility of educating how to use Constructor, how it's been improved over the years. And I know that we've got some reputation with Constructor, that it wasn't like when we first put it out, if the people can remember, it was a kit set. We didn't even know anything like what we know now. But now we know, that we've been given a tool that will, in the future, be the only way that people do water-fed window cleaning. I can guarantee that. John Lee from WCR, when he first got Constructor Brush and put it in the hands of his crew, he said to me, this brush is the next best thing for the window cleaning industry since Ettore Stacone developed the squeegee. And I believe that he is exactly right. This tool has evolved. I've been blessed that I've been very public with Facebook, and I've been able to get an enormous amount of feedback. Like, without the community, we have 2,500 members in our Waterfed Pole Talk Facebook group, and whether it's criticism, whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, or whether it's designs and solutions and everything like that, over the last 2.5 years, we've been able to refine and perfect the product. And now we've got other versions of it coming out that are going to, again, like we have a sill brush in design, which will clean sills at the same time as windows without changing out anything. And as you can see, bronze brush and stuff like that. So we've got, and some other ones I'm not even going to talk about, because the brush is what cleans the glass. That's where your major efficiency is. Okay, so let's quickly go to pole and filter. Pole. The more rigid the pole, the more you transfer your effort from your body, your calories, your force, your power, the more of that is transferred to the glass. If you have a pole that flexes, you're going to lose that power in flex, which is expressed in heat. So heat is also calories. So secondly, you're going to fight it, so you're going to end up using more control muscles, and then you're going to be basically more likely to be injured with a repetitive motion injury. Don't doubt me that we use a potentially injurious tool, and we should consider that with the absolute sobriety that we can make a lot of money, and we can make it really quickly, and we can have a fantastic time and could deliver amazing results for our customers, but we are potentially injuring ourselves. So we should respect the tool, learn about the tool, learn about safety about this tool, so that we can continue to do that for a long, long time, or that our workers are not being churned with potential injury. So from a pole design, Reach It actually started with this point. Somebody came to me and said, hey, I've got a 30-foot pole, I want to clean it 40 feet. I said, no problems, I've got a 40-foot pole, $1,500 back then. And he said, can't I just buy 10 more feet? Because I got 30 feet. And I said, no. But that's a very good point. And that's what actually started Reach It. I cut down a pole. I also thought they were way too long. So I cut down an Xtel pole. I was distributing Xtel poles in Australia. And I cut it down and made what is today the Mini. So the things, then I studied the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, which says basically, 80% of this causes 20% of that, 20% of this causes 80% of that. And I worked out that 80% of the glass that you clean as a window cleaner is 2 stories and below if you're basically residential, mixed commercial. And 80% of the glass that you clean is 4 stories and below, no matter how commercial you are. So with that in mind, we made a pole that was 25 feet, a real two-story pole. Like the highest two-story window at the top of the window is about 22 feet. So we give you a 25-foot pole plus the body of the operator. So it's 25 plus 5 is a 30-foot reach to reach a 22-foot. So you've got 8 feet of landscape drop or getting back across the other side of a swimming pool or anything like that. It's a perfect design, 25-foot pole. But you don't want to be using the weight of a 25-foot pole when you're only doing 15-foot work or 20-foot work. So we made it pull apart at 14 feet, and then we made it pull apart at 4 feet, so that you can do glass balustrades and nose to glass. Not you, because you know how to use a squeegee, but your worker who doesn't know how to use a squeegee. And then that's your basic telescopic pole, the master pole. And so then we developed Plus A. Plus A is a higher modulus carbon fiber extension that gets inserted near the top of that pole. So as that pole goes up, it's going to want to flex. At the beginning, it wants to flex near the top because that's the thin part. So we put a higher modulus in at the top. Later on, as it gets higher and you extend it again, the flex part comes down towards the middle. So we put Plus B in the middle. Again, a higher modulus core rigidity stiffening kit type extension, which gives you both more reach and more rigidity. And then you can either put 2 Plus Bs in to go to 50 feet of actual length or 55-foot reach, or you can put a Plus C on the bottom, which is convenient. Now the great thing is that now that we have a high, middle and low extension, you can actually take those 3 extensions with what we call Connect ABC, and you can use them together as a second 25-foot pole. So if you had a mini 5 for 5 stories, you would have the ability to put the mini with Plus ABC together to make 55-foot reach, or if you've only got 2-story work like a business park or a school, then when you've got all that 2-story work, you can use those extensions in your business as another 25-foot pole with Connect ABC. And the reason for that is because I worked out that only 1% of all your glass that you'll ever clean will be glass at 5 stories. So when you have a 5-story pole, you've bought it for 1% of the glass so that you can get access to the rest of the glass. But it's such a terrible, terrible way to make a decision. And the resellers want to sell you a 5-story pole, which is ugly and cumbersome at 4, horrible at 3, impossible at 2, and just downright stupid at 1. And so you'll go back to them and say, man, this thing is unwieldy, as I come down, and they'll say, no problem, we'll sell you a 35-foot pole, we'll sell you a 15-foot pole, we'll sell you a 4-foot pole, right? So reach it is the other way around. We say, whatever it is, you can buy a Mini 2 today, you own a Mini 5. Anytime in the future, you can go and chase 5-story work, and this 2-story pole will go out, or a Reach It Pro is a 4-story pole, it'll go to 6 stories, 7 stories. Precision is a 4-story pole that'll go to 8 stories, like that. So there's an efficiency of your money, efficiency in the design, efficiency of the parts and components, and a whole lot more. But basically the principle is 100% carbon fiber, maximum rigidity for you, the operator, the worker, to reduce the risk. Because you're basically, if you're turning that thing and you've got a swivel on the constructor brush, we call it side to side, then your pole is an axle. Between your wrist, here is your carpal tunnel, between your wrist and the brush. So if that axle is straight, then it's just a light load on the carpal tunnel. If the axle is bent, then you're going to corkscrew the pole in order to get the effect of the constructor brush and overload your carpal tunnel, right? And if you have a carpal tunnel injury or a rotator cuff injury, forget it. You're no longer a window cleaner. That's the end of your career. That's why I treat it very seriously. It's as bad as falling off a ladder and not dying as a repetitive motion injury in our industry. Okay, so that's enough about poles, I think. Just look at the design. Don't buy fixed length poles. Don't buy poles with internal tubing, because that stops this pull apart thinking. Don't buy poles where the clamps are a harder material to the fabric called carbon fiber. Fiber. It's a fiber. It's soft. So if you buy an aluminum clamp on a fiber on a fiber pole, and then especially if you corrugate that fiber pole so that you then put an internal tube which introduces grit and dirt and sand and stuff like that into the relationship between the clamp and the pole, and then especially with it corrugated, then you're going to reduce the outside diameter of the pole section. You'll be replacing the pole section, you'll never replace the clamp. Give it a lifetime warranty as much as you like. It's, in my opinion, it's a scam, right? So we do it the other way, the sacrificial part. Every time there are 2 moving parts, one must wear, We make it that the clamp is the sacrificial part, right? It's the one that wears, it's the cheapest, it's $69 to replace all the clamps on a reacher pole. And we have nowhere, like there's a couple of cases where we have some wear which we didn't foresee, to tell, just basically around the top where the little thing is, and that's in particular situations of guys who use the pole a lot when it's compact. But the best part of our design is that we have, the minimum amount of wear possible, because we sand back all of the surfaces flat, and we have a softer clamp. And to my, design, we've given the ability for internal tubing for those that prefer it, and so we don't know if the ones that are experiencing wear are running internal tubing or not. But anyway, those are the realities, and I'm talking like a 1%, but it's there. So I don't want to present that there's none there if there is some there. Okay. Now, let's talk about filter. It's the last part of this presentation. You cannot increase your efficiency whether you spend $100 on a DI tank or $5,000 on an IPC hydrocart with pumps and 4 RO membranes and blah 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 blah. You will never increase your efficiency, because the pure water is exactly the same out of a $100 DI tank as it is out of a $5,000 unit, right? It's exactly the same, and the pure water doesn't add anything to your efficiency. The pure water's function is simply to leave spot-free water. And what I explain to people is that, if possible, you should start DI only. And you don't have to buy the DI resins off me. But it's $200 if you add it to a reach-it when you're buying a reach-it. You get the 2 DI tanks. And my reasoning is that unless you know that you're going to be using a lot of resin, unless you know you're in a hard water area and you're going to use water-fed a lot initially, then spending $2,000 on a pure water system is an overkill, and possibly you will never get a return on investment. So I see the resellers saying, if your TDS is over 90, you need an RO. That is just bullshit. It is not true. DI will filter all water. You may need more DI because it's based on contact time in the tanks, but it can filter all water. So what an RO is a pre-filter to DI. If you look at all RO systems are called RO-DI. The last filter is a DI. The RO is a pre-filter. The RO is the pre-filter, and it uses water pressure to filter the water. So basically you lose 50% of the pressure, 50% of the water goes to pure, and 50% of the water goes to waste. That's a basic rule, like for you to be able to remember. And therefore, that the filtering of the water, it'll remove 95, let's say between 90 and 98% of the impurities that are in the water, the minerals that are in the water. It will remove them, and it's incredibly cheap. However, it's only cheap if you were going to spend a lot of money on DI. So if you're only going to spend $10 a week and you've got a 36 weeks season, that's $360 in a year. Well, ain't no way that it's ethical to sell you a $2,000 or a $5,000 water filter system to save $360 a year. So it's really important for me to just stress for you is to have a look at what you foresee as your first year's annual running cost. And if you can't foresee it, then get DI and find out what it is. As soon as it hits $40 to $50 a week, boom, you can go and buy an RO-DI system. Like we have Reach It Flow. We used to have Wash It Pro, which has been renamed in a slide of intellectual property, and it's been renamed the Zero Pure. But I designed that with IPC Eagle with WCR in the middle. And so you can take something like Reach It Flow for $2,000, and that will reduce your DI running costs from $40 to $50 a week to under $5 a week. But that's only valuable for you if you're spending the money. And if you're not spending the money, like I was talking to a window cleaner, the PWNA, and he spends $1,500 a month on DI resins, $1,500 a month. But he only uses, his revenue from window cleaning is $3 million a year. So for him, that $1,500 is still a small amount of money. and somebody will tell him he should be using RO because of the TDS of his water, but he goes, no, the convenience, the ease of use, the lack of complications, the plug and play, it's just a no-brainer that DI is the best. Where possible, where suitable, is the best way to filter water, right? The only issue is don't have you guys having cigarettes or lunch breaks while the water's running, because you're paying for that filtering of that water. And so that's it. There's money in glass if you can clean it fast. And in order, when you're making your decision, I recommend that you really look at, which brush you want to use, and the way that brush performs on the glass and how much efficiency is in that brush. And then you have a look at the pole, and you're looking for rigidity, and you're looking for the ability for it to be multifunctional. So one pole system rather than a series of poles, right? So you can easily spot somebody trying to jag you by whether they sell you a series of poles, and you can see somebody who's trying to jag you if they sell you a pure water system with proprietary filters that you've got to buy from them, right? Because the reality, like Reach It Flow, is full of components that you do not have to buy from us. We'd like it if you buy from us, but you don't have to. So therefore you have freedom. So we're not locking you in that you've got, once you have the Reach It, you've got to buy the Reach It. And then you'll see that these guys will sell a quarter of cube of DI resin to you for $108 plus shipping, when you can buy, sometimes at Windows 101, you can buy a whole cube of DI resin for $140, including shipping. Sometimes, when he's crazy on a sale, wants to get rid of a whole container in a week or something. Okay, so those are the things to look out for. And that's what I've been teaching. So I've been able to explain that in 30 minutes. That's not so short. But each class was an hour, and I can do the teaching on the glass. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm available 562-684-4928. You can call me. That's the United States number. We do have, if you go to futureofcleaning.com, we have local numbers in all countries in the world, so you can get hold of us. We sometimes have a native person, native language speaking person answering those calls. We're looking for your ideas, we're looking for your innovations, we're looking for your inventions, and we're certainly looking to service you. We believe that every buying decision deserves a phone call and a chat, just to make sure that your thinking aligns with our best advice. So don't be slow in coming forward. You can set a meeting with me, like a phone meeting. We have Indira is at the front end of our phone systems, and she can set a meeting, so you and I can talk together. It might only be 5 minutes. You might only have one question, or you might just want me to confirm what you've got in your shopping cart. But I really want to, assure you that I feel, personally committed to you and responsible to you for the decision that you make. And then if anything does go wrong, you don't have to blackmail me, don't worry. Everything which goes wrong, we replace for free. We just ask for a photo or a video so that we can understand it. A, we can understand if there's a part we need to replace, which part it is, because your word for it might be different from our word for it. And B, if something's failed, we want to see what failed and how it failed so that we can send that to our engineers and see if we can engineer that out. Like, we're not trying to build our products to fail, we're trying to build our products, out of obsolescence as compared to our competitors. Okay? So I'm Perry Tate from futureofcleaning.com, and it's been my great pleasure to meet so many of you over the last 5 weeks, and I appreciate your warm wishes to us, and Reach It, and the success that you guys have brought to us has been very, very humbling. Okay, onwards and upwards.